In the previous video, we spoke about our first project, which was implementing ISO 27001 2022 in an insurance company. And I already gave you a brief about ISO, and we agreed that ISO consists of 93 controls divided to 4 different categories. We have organizational controls, which include all the controls applicable on the full organization. We have people controls, we have physical controls, and we have technical controls. I kept a list of all the ISO controls on our free portal, free resources portal. You just need to visit infosec4tc.com to be able to download all the controls. Now, to simplify the process, I created a document that includes all the project deliverables. So instead of keeping the subject theoretically, this is what you will need to deliver to the insurance company to qualify it to get the ISO certificate. Now, ISO is the name of the certification, but in order for the insurance company to get certified, they need to implement what we call an ISMS. ISMS stands for Information Security Management System. And you have to be familiar with those terminology because sometimes in the job description, they will not write that we are looking for someone who got experience with ISO. They will write we are looking for someone who got experience implementing ISMS. So you need to understand those terminology. So ISMS is the framework that you will implement in the organization. And if the organization implemented this framework with all the controls, they will be qualified to get the ISO certificate. So I kept this document on the free resources portal just to guide you what should I prepare for the insurance company to be able to be ISO certified. So I divide them to phases. So this is phase 1, phase 2, phase 3. However, it doesn't mean that we will be working sequential. It's not like I have to finish phase 1 and then start phase 2 and then phase 3. We can be working in parallel. So we will be doing, for example, the ISMS project policies, and then while we are doing that, we're going to work on the asset register, and we're going to work on the risk management methodology and risk register. And even the technical activity like implementing data classification or implementing DLP, we will be doing that realistically. So I think this could be a good point to start from, which is what should I deliver? What is the ISMS requirement in a company? And based on that, you will get to know, is it the same requirement that will be in all the organization, regardless what kind of business they are doing, or the size of the organization, or the organization location? So it will change, and this is what we will explain later on. I mean, right now I will show you how to implement the ISMS in a big organization like this insurance company. But sometimes we get a project to implement the ISMS in a small organization or a startup, and this startup, maybe they have like 10 or 12 employees. They don't have an HR department, they don't have a procurement department. How can I implement ISO in an organization like that? So usually the challenge is not to implement the ISMS in big organization, is to implement the ISMS in small organization. We will go through that. Now, this document will show you exactly what do you need to have or what do we need to prepare for the insurance company. And we will go through them and explain how it's done until we reach the internal audit, which we'll also conduct and get the organization ready for the external audit. Now, let me clarify a few points about the standard because I think it's important to understand the framework, the ISMS framework or the ISO 27001 standard. The ISO 27000 standard, what you need to keep in mind, first of all, is it mainly identifies the role and responsibility for each one inside the organization. It's not only identifying the role and responsibility for IT department, but let me give you an example. One of the controls is the people controls. Let me scroll down here. One of the controls is about screening or background verification. This is actually in people control in 6.1. Okay, so when you actually check this control, screening, it's the first control in the people control, and you get to see that the control is saying that you need to do a background verification for new employees, which means that whenever you have a new employee joining the insurance company, they need to do a background check to make sure that his background will not affect his responsibility. He's not coming from a criminal background or he don't have any criminal record, and maybe you are planning to hire this guy in a sensitive position. Now, if you think about it, this responsibility is whom exactly? Who is responsible for doing that? Is it IT department? Is it security department? No, most of the time it's HR. Okay, what is my responsibility? This is an HR responsibility. My responsibility is to prepare a policy explaining the process for hiring people as per the information security management system and explain the process, sit with HR department, tell them what they need to do, and audit them after that. So what you did is you identify a role and responsibility for the HR department and wrote this responsibility inside the policy, which we're going to do. I will show you this policy, explaining what is the process before hiring someone and after hiring, during working, and after resignation, what is the HR responsibility. And you will have to sit with HR and explain to them and tell them, guys, from now on, here is how the hiring process should go. And once you do that, you're going to have to audit them. Okay. Same go for other departments. So procurement, for example, according to ISO, they have responsibility dealing with supplier, with vendor, with third party. You will be involved. IT, they have responsibility related to vulnerability management, backup, big responsibilities related to IT. So you are just highlighting or you are just identifying the responsibility in details and make sure that they are doing the right thing. So you're going to be coordinating with everyone inside the organization, each department, to explain what is the role and responsibility and provide them a policy that was signed and approved by management to tell them this become a process now that you have to follow. So keep that in mind. It's not only a technical controls to be implemented. It's a full responsibility for the organization. So once you get to understand that, it will make a lot of sense. Now, before starting the implementation, because the implementation is not that, I mean, I should not just get the controls and start implementing first and second and third control. The first step that we will do is to try to understand very well the business. And all kind of standard like ISO or NEST or any other standards, the first thing you do, you go and sit with each department and understand this company is doing what kind of service they provide, what kind of information they have, where are they keeping those information. Understanding the context of the business will let you know what are the critical business functions. How can I secure them? Because after all, the main point of information security is not only to protect against hackers. This is a very small scope, but it's to maintain the stability of the business. I mean, problem is not only coming from hackers or coming from people who try to attack the company. No, people, problem coming from different places. You may have a problem from an internal employee. By mistake, he deleted something, or by mistake, he leaked some sensitive information. You may have a problem related to a natural disaster. An earthquake happened, or a tornado happened, and then the business has been interrupted. This is all under your responsibility. You should be the one who is ready for any circumstances. If we have, for example, a natural disaster, an earthquake or a tornado, I already planned for that. And we have the infrastructure or another infrastructure on the cloud. Or we have some kind of redundancy that the business will not be affected. If I have an employee inside my organization, I will give awareness frequently to make sure that no one will do something by mistake. So you are doing whatever it takes to make the business stable. This is what you need to mind. And you will never be able to do that unless you understand the business very well. So to summarize, the documents that I want you to check, and we will practice on it, will be this deliverable for the ISMS implementation. We're going to explain how to create the policy and procedures, how to create the scope, what is an asset register and how it should be filled, what is a risk management methodology, and we will learn how to do risk assessment ourselves from A to Z. We will learn the business continuity, disaster recovery, what is the statement of the applicability. We will try to go to all the element of the ISMS.